Hi, and welcome again to this latest episode of La Plata Ward 4 Update Podcast and Video. This is David Jenkins, La Plata Town Council member from Ward 4, and your host for this podcast and video, which are now both available on YouTube and YouTube Music. This episode is a follow-up to my August 13th, 2024 podcast and video entitled Speed and Traffic, and the article in the latest town newsletter. There is a need for traffic calming options and for community and town cooperation to develop a program to reduce speeding in our residential neighborhoods. This is not only in my neighborhood in Clark's Run, but in many neighborhoods across La Plata. I know from talking with residents this is a big problem. And what really has prompted this now in my neighborhood, that recently, I think last week, there was an incident where a driver, and I believe it was a resident here in Clark's Run, decided to blow through at a bus stop where a school bus would stop with their stop sign deployed, and decided to go through that stop sign as kids were either getting on or getting off the bus. So that's really dangerous. And then literally last week, October the 28th, I was walking in my neighborhood at 9 o'clock in the morning, and two cars, right after another, decided to blow right through a stop sign, clearly marked stop sign. So that's really has prompted not only my previous podcast and article, but also this podcast and video to really address the issue and perhaps develop a program here in the town, working with neighborhood community organizations or homeowners association. So a lot of things I hear from residents is, again, this concern about speeding in their neighborhood, and believe that law enforcement, that is La Plata Police, should have more enforcement giving out tickets. That certainly is one element to stop speeding, but unfortunately the police cannot be everywhere. And unfortunately then it will take them away from other crucial activities with respect to crime prevention as well. This is not to suggest that speeding is not important. It is. It's just that the police cannot be everywhere. So what I believe, though, there needs to be what I would call, and what Strong Towns calls, a bottom-up approach. That is pressure or advocacy from the community to the town to see how we can work together with the town and the police to develop a neighborhood programs to reduce speeding. So let me first go to this first slide to talk about what is traffic calming. So this is just a graphic from a report called Streets and Sidewalks, People and Cars, The Citizen's Guide to Traffic Calming, by a well-known traffic advocate and safety advocate, Dan Burton. I'm not going to read this, but it really is an attempt. Traffic calming is really an attempt to slow vehicles on streets where drivers are travel at higher speeds than is desirable. In most residential communities here in La Plata, the speed limit is either 25 or 30 miles an hour. So that's the basic issue, is to try to slow down traffic on residential streets. So this next slide, one way to do that is what they call tactical urbanism, short-term projects that hopefully can bring about long-term change. And what I mean, what is defined as tactical urbanism is an approach to community building. That's important. Community building using short-term, low-cost, scalable projects intended to catalyze or to generate long-term change. And so that's, again, the key word here is community building. That is, get the neighborhoods, the residents involved in their neighborhood to fix the problem they know and have a lot of knowledge about. So typically for most projects of this scale or these types of projects, it takes a long time. This particular graphic just shows, we're typically focused on long-term, very expensive and slow projects. Sometimes there's lack of transparency, and frankly lack sometimes of public mistrust, and then it's somewhat static and inflexible because it's a long-term project. This is probably not a fair example, but for instance, the La Plata project we've been working on for 3.5 years is the Radio Station Road walkway. You know, we've been working with our staff in the state for almost 3 years at a very substantial cost to build this walkway in town and out Route 6, Charles Street to 488, to Radio Station Road, then up to Roserick Road. But again, we've gotten a lot of state money, but again, it's still after 3 years, it's not built yet. So that's the problem with trying to do these kind of projects. We tend to focus on the long-term big projects. And what I want to emphasize is your demonstration, quick action, hopefully low-cost projects to get the town and the community involved to fix speeding in neighborhoods. So this is one methodology where you test it, where you do a demonstration, you test a project, you plan it, you implement it, and you test again. And that's the idea, is to learn, try new ideas, you build trust, you actually do the project, you see what happened, and then you look at the data and see what came out of that. And I'll give you an example of that later on in this video. But that's just a brief overview of how maybe we can speed up the process, while at the same time not necessarily spend a lot of tax money, but perhaps lessons learned that we can use in other short-term or low-cost projects. So what are the benefits of traffic calming? At the community level, people work together in new ways, so we get the community engaged. This process can cover what works, but also what doesn't work. And we don't necessarily have to spend a lot of money to understand what works and what doesn't work, because it's a demonstration type project. And frankly, number 3, it builds good political will and delivers public benefits to us, the community, hopefully faster. I think that's important. So this next slide is from Smart Growth America. They have a whole website, and I'll give you the link to this, where they have a whole section demonstrated to quick build demonstration projects where they've helped communities all over the country. Communities large and small, and I'll give you an example shortly, where they look at short-term demonstration projects to fix a specific traffic calming problem in that community. And as it says here, there is federal money, there is federal funding, a grant available through their Safe Streets and Roads program. So again, that's another benefit of trying to go after these projects. Again, hopefully quick turnaround and not too expensive. And this is just from their webpage again. You know, why do a quick build project? What are the benefits? Well, again, the important issue is to improve safety quickly or overnight on dangerous corridors or streets or intersections. Cheaply test designs or interventions and other materials, such as even things such as hay bales and styrofoam and cones, those kind of things. And I'll give you examples of those shortly. Another important thing, you engage everyone in the process, that the community, the town staff, and us as elected officials or other elected officials. That then generates new knowledge and partnerships. Partnerships are key to getting these kind of things and other projects done. Hopefully then, after a demonstration and lessons learned, it builds support for even better or even permanent project or implementation. And then also, again, to encourage the use of other transportation modes, specifically walking and cycling in our neighborhoods. So it's a good way to do short-term investment with a great return in the future. So this is a particular project from their website in South Bend, Indiana. So yes, South Bend is significantly larger than La Plata, but I picked this one because it specifically talked about neighborhood traffic calming. Okay, and their issue was, you can read up here, they wanted to do a demonstration project to test specific or traffic calming tools that had never been used before, including traffic circle, chicanes, or bump outs, and I'll show you what they are. And working with neighborhoods to try to slow down traffic in residential neighborhoods. And so they thought this will be a way to not only slow down traffic, but also build trust with that particular community or other communities, and then use that to replicate this in other parts of South Bend. We could do that here in La Plata as well. So let me go to the next slide, and I'll just show you some of the tools they use. So they tried out, in this case, 3 different measures in 5 locations throughout this particular neighborhood, including 2 traffic circles, 2 chicanes. This is chicane where they try to, there are a pair of bump outs that introduce curves into an otherwise straight road. Can you think of East Patuxent Drive in Clark's Run or other neighborhoods? And otherwise straight roads to encourage people to drive 10 to 30% slower. And that would be great in neighborhoods. They also try what they call bump outs, where they strategically place narrow streets or intersections to encourage, again, people to slow down. That gives you an example of what that looks like. And then traffic circles. That's add around center island to intersections, so drivers must slow down and change direction to navigate around the circle. I was on a video call today with Smart Towns where they gave an example of that, just like this. In this case, I think that's probably just a bale of hay. So it's quick, easy. It gives an idea for people to slow down at particular intersections. And I actually have an idea from this gentleman from Strong Towns about how we could do that perhaps here in Clark's Run at one particular intersection, specifically the intersection where I saw the 2 residences blow through stop signs. So that's a great possibility. Again, quick demonstration project to see if it works. So this is just what they mean by traffic circles, bump outs, or chicanes. This next slide just shows how that implemented using art, and the town is pursuing, we haven't done it yet, but they are pursuing ways to do art for crosswalks at different town streets. Perhaps we could do that here in Clark's Run or other neighborhoods. We could paint sides of the road, or again, to make drivers visualize a narrow lane, a driving lane, and that is to slow down. So here they are painting the traffic circle. You notice the temporary construction materials. Here's a chicane or bump out, and you can see the different paint, plastic tubing, and again, you see the community actively engaged in this. So again, this was focused on a particular neighborhood in South Bend, Indiana, to slow traffic down on residential streets. The same issue we have here in La Plata. So I'm not going to read all this, but so they actually measured the results of this particular project in that particular neighborhood. And they have documentation that said the traffic did slow down. They measured traffic speeds. The share of people driving 25 mile or less increased at the 5 intersections before the project, before the project. So they were trying to slow the traffic down, and you can see that the graphic here of how they were driving before and after the project. But the real lessons at the bottom here, number 1, temporary demonstration projects are again a great way to test out new ideas without a lot of investment. But it also then builds trust in the community, that is between the town and our neighborhoods and the neighborhoods with us at the town. So again, that's really one of the lessons learned. And again, I'm going to give you the links to all this material so you can read this for yourself. It's a lot of good information. And then there's other examples of what other cities are doing. So this is a website from Indianapolis, Indiana. Again, I know it's a much bigger city than we are, but it's a good example of how that particular city is using what they call community-powered infrastructure. So they're creating projects in conjunction with neighborhood partners, community groups, to improve their particular neighborhoods. So this is just their website. And 2 specific areas they're working on. They're called Art in the Right-of-Way, and they have policy and programs. So this is a program where they allow communities to celebrate their unique identities by using art within a town or city right-of-way for placemaking within their neighborhoods. And that could be a mural or sculpture. And so this program offers a unique way for the community to work with the town. There is a 50-50 cost share award program, and they've apparently started this in this past spring. And then this is just a link to their policy and guidelines and how a community there can make application to work with the city on this project or these types of projects. The other element is what I talked to earlier about, tactical urbanism. Again, it's another program that allows community to test infrastructure changes in their neighborhood through, again, low-cost temporary projects. The community can work or will work with the city or the town, in this case in Indianapolis, to develop a hypothesis, collect pre and post data, and project implementation to see whether this proposed project, and the changes would be effective to the issues they're trying to face. In our case, it could be speeding in the neighborhood. Again, it's a 50-50 cost share award program. And so again, they've started this in the spring of this year. And again, here's the link, and I'll give this to you, about the policy, how to get engaged, and the guidelines and an application. But again, it's another effort that perhaps we could try here in La Plata. And so I just wanted to briefly talk about this traffic calming that's available. A lot of information. Within the last couple of days, and today's October the 30th, I've reached out to my local Clarksville Citizens Association with this information. I've reached out to them to review this and other information about traffic calming. I also provided this information to the town council at our meeting on October 29th, and then I also sent the information. I emailed them to the town council as well as the La Plata police chief. So in a way to get all of us engaged and perhaps start a dialogue and perhaps a program, and perhaps we can initiate a quick and cost-effective safety program in La Plata neighborhoods to slow the traffic down. And again, perhaps a low-cost, quick demonstration project can begin to start that process. So again, I just wanted to briefly show this to you after the two recent incidents in my neighborhood about speeding. Again, running through a school bus stop sign early in the morning, and then two folks running stop signs in our neighborhood. So again, thanks again for listening and watching. Again, email me any questions or comments to me at djenkins@townlaplata.org. Again, thanks for listening. Stay well and stay safe.